Like the one.
Yeah.
Head down. I mean, for somebody.
Exactly. All those Vikings, huh?
It's our year.
See the purple, yeah. I know, it's just, it's just waiting for us to.
Yeah. I don't care about football. Week 8 or 9.
Twins fan.
I do like baseball,
You're-
but I don't care two hoots about football.
Not even one who can go for football.
Not even a hoot, not even a half a hoot.
They won 48-0. They're not good. They are not good at all.
That's good. Orlando Redhawks started their first playoff game tonight. 6:30. Well, you're gonna be a little late, aren't you? Yes, I've already got the streaming all set up, so. I can start watching it as soon as I get in the door. All right, 6 o'clock, we'll call the meeting to order. Christina, you have the roll,
Yes.
and we all please rise for the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Move to approve this evening's agenda. Lori,
Motion to approve this evening agenda.
do I have a second? I got that. Okay. All those in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, the agenda is approved. On the consent agenda, all items on the consent agenda will be passed with one council motion unless there is something we need to remove for further discussion. Ron? No comments? Okay. I just saw you grinning, so I didn't know.
I'm actually a happy person.
All right, thank you, sir.
People watching Red Hot screaming.
So,
Motion
there you go.
Second.
Motion what?
Motion,
approve
the consent
the
agenda.
consent agenda.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Get with it here now.
And Nick,
Thank you.
thank you. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? None, the consent agenda is passed.
Jeez.
To the Blackduck Forum. Is there anyone for the forum? Yes, sir.
So I don't know, being new to this job that I have, I don't know how familiar all are with different funding opportunities for the city, for the area, things like that. But I met with, the HRDC last week, and they gave me some funding opportunities that I thought could possibly benefit Blackduck. One of them being a block grant, which is, funding available for, well, the title of it is Energy Efficiency and Conservation Strategies. And it provides funding for, planning on doing different things. Like, there's a couple of examples on here: energy efficient planning, renewable energy planning, climate resilience planning. An example of something that they could do with the funding is come in and check the energy efficiency of all the city government buildings and, you know, public works, things like that. So that's an opportunity. I have, of all the things I'm gonna share with you, I do have information that I can give you if you're interested. I can leave it with you, whatever that's one that's block grant. Another one is the active transportation program.
Yeah.
Pardon?
Yeah.
So you're familiar, good. There's two different things with this one. One is a funding for planning something. And the other is funding to put that plan into action. For example, something that I thought of was creating a bike trail from here to the beach. That would fall under the category of what bike funding. I took a walk around the trail this afternoon, and I didn't until I started working up here, didn't even know it was there. So I just wanted to take a look at that and see what, what it looked like and whatever. If you wanted to improve that, funding is available for that as well. Have information, not a lot of information, but it can all be found on MnDOT's website. If that's something that the city is interested in. One thing about the infrastructure funding is that it's 100% funded with no match. Required. There is solicitation this year, and that funding will be available every other year. So I believe so it'll be this year, and then 2026. If I'm reading this correctly. And one last thing is I've been given a project through the BDC to come up with ways to revitalize downtown. To improve the aesthetics of what we have here already, help promote businesses coming in, things like that. And when I was visiting with HRDC, they said there's potentially funding available for that as well. And a suggestion that Sean made was the possibility of revamping the RLF to better accommodate that. An example that he gave was a forgivable loan. So that's something that the city's interested in too, in revamping the RLF. I can certainly help facilitate that discussion with Sean.
Since I'm an anti-acronym person, would you remind us what RLF?
Revolving loan fund.
Well, thanks for that. And anything we can do to get grants and keep tax impact on residents lower than otherwise would be the better.
You have copies of all that?
I do.
I would appreciate one. For you.
Yeah, the TAP information isn't real comprehensive. There is a webinar actually on Wednesday. If you're interested in watching that. I highlighted that. A little more information. I just got this late last week, so I haven't had enough to look real thoroughly at it. Well, not that I got the gist of what it is.
Hang on, Chip. Well, I appreciate you coming in.
Thank you.
Anybody else for the Blackduck Forum?
That's you.
That's me.
That's you.
I just, had mentioned it to the planning commission, but I wanted to know about that property up for the Kingdom Hall, right in that lot. There's the right away in between Joey on the other side.
Scott, you may have to start from scratch because these board members are not going to know what you're discussing.
Okay. I don't know the lot number, but it's Carlson Avenue. That's, I always gotta think. West side of the highway. The first lot, I've been leveling out the lot because I want to make a house lot out of it. It's got water and sewer right in front, so it only makes sense to put a small house there. But the next lot is, I can spend Crazy, but there's like. Got that old boat parked in front. Old car, like out and that is. That's on city property, that's right away between his and mine. And I wanted to see if they would abandon it. They did it before when I was on the other side of Carlson, they abandoned one between me and Savages. It's not ever gonna, it can't possibly ever be a road, you'd have to go spend $2 million to get through the swamp or something. So if they would abandon that, and then I can tell exactly where I can put my house. That's my waiting to see, but. And at the very least, if they don't abandon it, can they at least get. That stuff cleared off on that other side of it. There's a building there and an old boat there and unsightly. Maybe he never got a permit, I'm sure, for the building on it, it's on his property. I cleared that property up, kind of uncovered, but now I must have hauled up my truckloads and stuff. I think dump truck. But I could put a house in there, but before I do, I wanna know what the footprint can be. And the setbacks would be determined by if that's right away was there. Okay.
So
Yeah,
are you requesting a formal petition?
Yeah.
For the council to consider?
yeah, I'd like them to abandon that right away. It's kind of pointless. I don't know.
Well, not necessarily. There's road to the north once you get into Hines Township. That could at some point become a complete loop.
Try walking through it and see how many millions it would cost you to make a road through there. You'd never do it. I mean, it's just all swamp.
That may be true, yeah.
And the water and sewer goes up by Croswell, which I used to live on. I think that's the way they would think, no,
It would have to be a
that's
continuous,
where they would go.
it would have to go a full loop though, if they did water and sewer. So if it went up Croswell, it would have to come back down. Max, the formal vacation process requires a written request from the adjacent landowners to the council, and then I can start the process. So if that's what Scott is asking for, I just need you to document it. Well, it has to come from the adjacent property owners,
Yeah.
not the city.
Yeah, Joey's
Yep.
property would be adjacent.
Correct. So the
And the one-
petitioners are the property owners.
And the one behind it would be a part of Jim Woven's land.
That's all Jim Holden's.
And I don't know if there's even a right of way through that land.
There is not. I have looked at the plat, but it's a potential because Pines Hideaway is directly north of that.
Right.
I have a
And I
sample,
could talk to Jim about finding that piece too.
I have a sample petition document that I printed off today that I can give to you.
Okay,
This, you're certain the building, the boat that's there is on the right of way property.
it's pretty easy to see if you look at that satellite thing and see where the lines are, it's just.
Yeah.
it's pretty
Yeah, we could
simple.
get like a set, print out of the satellite. thing.
His lot's only about 75 wide. And he tried to go around to Clarice's property and she got really upset. He was driving through her property and I tried to say that he's only got this many feet to show her. And she put something up so he couldn't do that.
Hmm.
And then said he going the other way, which is fine, it's just city property. If he wasn't using it for a dump. Well, that's stuff in there. I finally pushed it all over. The rest of it over to him.
And you know who owns that?
It's one of these deed on top of deed on top of deed things that the current one is,
Joey Anger Jr.
yeah. That was. Talked to his dad, he's really nice. There's an abandoned boat, city property.
So if you're gonna go through the process to vacate to ask the city to do it, then Or look at it. And did you just clarify, do you own the adjacent property now, or,
Yeah, mine's 100 to the block that goes to the highway.
okay? You're one of the adjacent property.
And like I said, it needs to be a contract, so it just seems like a building in there or sell it as a buildable lot, but either way, it's.
And the planning commission saw this as a positive.
They considered it as a positive, being able to build a house on it. The parcel that Scott owns right now is within the minimums of a residential lot.
Okay.
So it could be buildable as it sits right now. Depending upon what the soils and everything are, but in terms of size, it's buildable.
Okay.
But it sounds like from the feedback I got from CEAS at the last planning commission meeting
Yeah.
was that Scott's interest is to make a large enough home that's more attractive in that area. However, depending on how the process goes, the city would have to consider if the adjacent property owners can have a section of that right away then, and then deed it over to them. They don't have to deed it in the vacation process.
Okay.
They can just vacate it.
Very good. So, Christine will get you that.
Yeah.
Sure.
Here's that sample document, Scott. Some of the language is there.
Right.
Of the correct petitioners.
We
Bring
need
it
more
in.
houses, so.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of a no-brainer with the water and sewer right in front of it.
Mhm.
Which they didn't think it was, and I remember when they put it in, and I said it's manhole, and they said, no, it's a corner, and then. It does in front of Clarice's, I said, can you stick something up there so you can see where it goes? And they did, and put up the manhole, and it's right straight in front of my drive. So it's all ready to go.
Good enough. Anybody else for the Blackduck Forum? We'll move on, unless you wanna,
Not
a
at,
song or.
not at this meeting, no, but you'll have to come back. Once I get it on the agenda and everything, and get the public notices out and
Thanks,
start the
Scott.
process, so.
Thanks.
Thank you. Mike's not here.
And all I had was just some council information on that
On that.
MnDOT
Yep.
7172 project, so I put that in the packet for you guys to look at. That's just update from,
Pushing it back.
and pushing it back a couple more years, yep.
Then we'll move right to Shonda.
Don't really have anything too, special, I guess. August was busy, very good. Good August numbers, a little part of what was September last year. Numbers are in August, so that's split, but, yeah, we've had some really good specials, there's some really good responses to our weekly special and our new drink special that we've been doing, running weekly. People will be like, even if they don't drink it, they get interest, they're like, oh, what is that? And, sometimes you like, I don't like that. Well, it's okay, you don't have to like, and you don't have to order it, but, it gets them interested, and then there's people who are like, I really want to come in and try it, because something new. We've been doing that all summer, so. Yeah,
Bash numbers turn out,
I don't know, almost exactly, probably $180
well, flat. Yeah.
flat, yeah. Different than last year, it was real flat. So, you guys have anything? Questions for me?
Okay, good.
All
Keep doing what you do.
right, just keep plugging along, right?
That's all you can ask.
Not every meeting's gonna be a, you know, barn burner here.
Yes.
There should be one
Lots
on
to
here
say
that's
about
easy.
keeping it calm.
You know, we can just go with it. It's good. But thank you.
Yep.
Christina, that's you.
Sick. Look, it's only 20 after.
Well, Tom's got some baseball to watch, apparently.
Great, we got some stuff to do too. All right, first order I have underneath me is for the council to take action on resolution 24-04. Yes,
Yes.
I'm going backwards slightly because I drafted this back in February.
Yep.
I'm happy to say that we are at the point now where we can formally convey this property to the Blackduck Co-op.
That's excellent.
So the first action I need from the council is to approve this resolution.
I'll move to approve resolution 2024-04.
I was second.
I will ask if there is, any further discussion on this.
Since February, that's ahead already.
I think we all know that we've been waiting for this for a while, so all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Hearing none? Motion carried.
And then the second action I need for this matter is for the council to approve the purchase agreement between the city of Blackduck and Blackduck Co-op Ag.
Motion to approve the purchase agreement between the city of Blackduck and Blackduck Co-op Services.
Second.
A motion and a second. Is there any discussion?
Comments from Rachel?
Just appreciate the patience of the council. It's been a long way to get to this point, but very, very important that we are as a business at this point. And appreciate all the help, number one, from Christina, but from all of you. It's gonna hopefully make a real big difference in our business, so. Yeah,
And we thank you for wanting to stay within
yeah.
the city limits of Blackduck. That means a lot to us too.
Well, it does make sense, you know,
Yep,
for everybody involved, and very appreciative of all the help getting to this point, even though it's taken 3 years.
we're here. It's serious now. So with that,
We need more business and bigger business.
This should be, number one, its intentions are to keep our current business going, but it's gonna double our capacity. Our two facilities, the one north of town and the one in town are very tight. And we're wondering if the tower that we have is gonna make it through our next spring season. Fertilizer just eats away at anything, and so this facility has more than put its time in, and we're in a really good place, as far as our debt free and the interest to expand to the east, to the north, is there. So I think it's gonna be really good for us, of course, but I think it's gonna be very good for the city because we do draw from
Yes.
so many areas. So appreciate all the help.
then let's vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None. Motion carries.
Have, documents for us to sign, but
You want to do that now, Rachel? Do you need to get going or?
I can come back tomorrow and do that if that's okay.
and okay, how about I call you in the morning?
Sounds good. Thank you guys very much.
Thank you, Rachel. Wow, let's keep making people happy.
All right, the next item I need approved is resolution 24-12. This is a resolution approving an assessment for past due utility charges. I haven't done this in a couple of years. This is
Yeah, I
the
know.
first one that I've been able to dig up that I know is gonna need to get paid, so, a large portion of this outstanding is repairs to the service line that happened around the same time the building shut down to the public. but in talking with the foreclosure, company, they provided approval for it and knew that it was gonna get assessed to the property anyway, so. It just gives me the authority to, send it out to the county, so it'll end up on property taxes in 25.
So you're dealing with a foreclosure company that's foreclosing on the property, is that right?
Yeah, well, yeah, there's a bank that owns it right now, Ron.
And as I recall, previous story from Mike, when they tried to shut the water off, the valve wouldn't work and they had to dig up
That
down
is-
to the water main and put a new valve in.
Yep,
And that's exactly what this is.
yep, plus any past due, usage
Use it for. Okay.
at the point of closing.
Well, I can make a motion to approve resolution 2024-12 assessment for past due utility charges.
Motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
You were the
I
last.
was the loudest.
Sorry, God.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
The next conversation I want to share is kind of interim. I'm gonna start with cannabis talking.
Which of the 46 pages do you?
Well, honestly, all I really want to discuss is the sample ordinance that I provided. If you had an opportunity to read the guide from OCM, that's great. But real briefly, what I'd like the council to have a good discussion on, and I've also submitted the same thing to the planning commission, is the consideration of buffer zones in the city, for providing, cannabis retail options.
Okay.
So, to start off with, in summary, the city has the option in this ordinance to delegate its, oversight to the county instead of the city being the compliance. And I would strongly recommend that the city council provide that delegation to the county because we don't have the staff to do it. And it would definitely shorten the restrictions of the ordinance because then it would go off of the county to do it instead. So it's much like the county provides all the county tobacco licenses. And they are the oversight and they're the testing authority too. They have the staff to do so. So we would ask that their administration take that section of our city over for any regulations. That doesn't take away the authority the city has for any zoning though. So what will happen in a nutshell is when somebody wants to open a retail cannabis entity, they will file for licensure from the Office of Cannabis Management. Once they've gone through that licensing process, part of that requirement is that OCM actually contacts the local government and verifies that the licensee is within the zone that the city provides authority for that business. That gives us, the city, the ability to say, okay, we want your business here, obviously, it's tax revenue, right? We can tell, by setting this ordinance, what zones the city will authorize those retails to be in. And optionally provide buffer zones around other areas of the city. Mostly they revolve around children and youth, schools, playgrounds, that type of thing, daycares. What I've circled for you guys on the map here are obviously identifiable properties in the city that have children involved. There's a couple, Nick, there's your property for your daycare there. There's the one down by Mandy's on Main Street, the playground at the Wayside Rest, Head Start. And then obviously all of the campus for the school. And you'll note that I also circulated where the football field is and the baseball fields. And that is because one of the options in the sample ordinance is that we can also delegate a certain amount of feet on a buffer zone around uh, a field or any type of playing for sports. In this process, I have reached out to the school, had a conversation with Pete Barr, asked him to find out where the temperature is on his school board members to see if they have any concerns or if they want to restrict or have a say in where the council would agree to have, if there is a buffer zone or not. The feedback I received from Mr. Barr was that, the school board members don't want to limit business from coming in. They understand that the city's really tight and the school is right in the heart of, you know, the city. So that would be difficult to set a buffer zone that's super close to the school. So they don't want to limit it. That's basically the feedback I got from him. We have until the end of this year to go through this ordinance and set this. And I think it's really important that the city council consider the areas. I want to show you the next slide. Because what I did was, and this kind of shows you a little bit more. I took a 500-foot buffer zone. Let me see if I can blow it up a little bit, you guys. I took a 500-foot buffer zone in the GIS from the parcels or the areas that I just showed you in the previous slide. So you can kind of see where 500 feet kind of intersects with areas of the city. And just taking the school property, for instance, 500 feet from where the trades building is, pulls us all the way to this intersection into like Moondrug. So it's twofold. You can say that you will only allow these businesses in B1, B2, or B3. And the previous slide, those are color coded. You don't, the city doesn't have to set a buffer zone. It may, but it doesn't have to. It's optional.
And the county could have already set buffer zone.
The
for it.
county hasn't set their ordinance yet.
So they could already. But I mean.
They won't supersede our zoning.
Okay.
They only
That's
can
what-
govern the county. They can't govern our zoning. Okay? These colors that you see here, the dark purple, that's B1, where the liquor store is, and frontage is B2. And then the highway, this other purple, is B3. Obviously, it wouldn't go into an industrial zone. I mean, I don't see how that could really transpire, but you could consider the ag area as a potential grow area. If somebody was going to do that type of business with cannabis. But what the city needs to consider, this just kind of outlines, I made it a little bit different with each area so you can really see how tight it goes. What you need to consider is you cannot restrict this, you cannot make this ordinance so restrictive that people cannot have the businesses. And you have to consider future growth while setting this ordinance. So what I gave the council tonight and the staff in the packet is the ordinance as it's written from OCM as a sample, and then in the yellow lines, the options of what the council can change and make specific to our city. And I want the city council to strongly consider what you want to do before I draft it and get into the first and second and adoptive readings. But on a timeline standpoint, we as the city will want to have this set by our December council meeting. So it's codified by January 1. We have time. That's the good thing. I have also invited Brody and his wife. I haven't heard feedback from them yet to see if they want to come and discuss or talk to the council about pros and cons, because I know Brody's very versed in all of this. His property, excuse me, his property is, where Hometown Hemp is right, shoot, right here. So that's a 500-foot buffer zone from Head Start. And he's outside of that. And he is in one of the zones that would allow it. So if he chose to do a storefront or do something more in there, he could. The other thing the council has to take into consideration, obviously, residential. We're too tight. You're not going to be able to say you can't have a business that close to my house because that's how the city's already zoned. You can't start changing your zoning to zone them out and not be able to have the business here. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. So my objective for tonight was just to introduce to the public and the council what you're up against and what kind of feedback you're going to need from your constituents and the public. One of the planning commissioners this past month said, you know, Wells Fargo and Moon Drug could become a business, that could become a storefront. They have ample space to have a grow, an indoor grow, right? So it is a potential, just because we have some fairly large commercial space.
But I understand you summarizing the conversation with the school is that they have no requirements on a buffer zone.
They did not believe that a buffer zone was needed. As long as the zoning, as long as obviously the businesses are only gonna be allowed in the zones that we set at. However, I should push back on that, Ron. The planning commission also started talking about variances and conditional use permits, and if we were gonna set it so tight that you couldn't have a variance, well, in my research and my understanding of the way it is the state's already passed the legal authority for a person to have X amount of plants in their own personal house now,
Yes.
right? So it does not matter if the school has residential right across the street from it at this point. There's nothing in our zoning or our city ordinances that prohibits somebody from having a home-based business. But the cannabis management statutes do not allow personal use cannabis to be sold. So somebody can't have a storefront across the street from the elementary school. Let's put it that way. It has to be, if it's gonna be a storefront that goes through the licensure of OCM, it has to be in the zones that the local government dictates.
So even the school is theoretically not requesting any
Additional buffer.
buffer, not even a 500-foot buffer.
No.
And you summarized, if I understood you correctly, that if we did a 500-foot buffer from the school, that would eliminate this intersection.
It can.
It would be within there.
It would be within there. You can do, for the school section of the sampled ordinance, Ron, you could do up to 1,000 feet.
Yeah.
Anything the government would want to do. There are 3 other, listed options, daycares, shoot, I'm forgetting them, playgrounds, and those couldn't exceed 500 feet. So I stuck with my sample of 500.
Yep.
Just to make it easy for everybody to understand where that circle ends up within our city.
Put it that way.
I mean, you can have a buffer, but not one that's gonna take opportunity from business structures.
Right.
But you also have to think of people that have owned their homes that maybe
don't want that in the neighborhood. The property tax, the property owners that already have, that bought their houses, lived in their houses, and maybe don't want that next door to them.
That's always a risk, yes, I understand, and I get that, there's people that are, live across the alley from other businesses. Ron lives right across the alley from 3 businesses, actually all the way around you,
Or,
4 or 5. So that's,
I have backdoor privileges on most of them. The one across the bank would not give me the code to the back door, so.
Oh, darn them.
well, and so I understand where Ron is coming from, but our zones are set the way they are.
That's Main Street, so you expect businesses.
Yeah, I mean, it is, this all used to be. I can't even remember if it all, yeah. But even this one was a residence, and this has all been business for a long time. There hasn't been a lot rezoned in the city.
Where does that put the city at for?
What do you mean?
I mean, if the city wanted to have a dispensary,
If the city wanted to do its own dispensary, it could. They have the right to, that the ordinance has language in there that's discuss municipal ownership. But it more tailors the conversation around the amount of licenses you can have within a 12,500 population. My understanding is it doesn't discount the number of licenses because it's government owned. So if you can only have one business, one licensed cannabis business within a 12,500 population area, anything that's municipally owned doesn't count against it. So that means there can still be one. If the pond did it, it wouldn't be the only potential. It wouldn't be like
yeah.
the off sale. It wouldn't be like the off sale, right?
And what kind of a buffer would you have there, 500?
No, there's nothing in OCM that says there has to be a buffer around another one. You could have 2 right next door. But it's population driven.
Okay, so I just want a little clarification, if I could.
Yeah, please, you're the manager of the pond.
So what, I'm just wanting to make sure, because it kind of sounds, so. If, let's say, hypothetically, the pond has a licensure.
Mhm.
But then,
Brody?
hometown hemp.
Yep.
Would have one too.
Yep.
We can, in this population of 800, have both of them. Right? Or is that, am I not?
I would want to clarify that.
Okay, because I'm not clear on that.
Yeah. I don't know if it goes by just governing entity and municipal boundary or within a different area.
Okay.
That's something I will research and have to get back to you.
Yeah, because I feel like I would like to have, I would like to figure out if that would be something that we could add profitability for the city.
Yep.
But I also don't want to be that person who takes the only one license that we can have. I'd rather have
Mhm.
another business operate. Do you know what I'm saying?
I'm
That we get
100%.
taxes from, and then,
I'm on the same side as Shonda. I would rather see that. The only clarification point that I need to make on the population wise is if that's countywide or entity wide, because there's only 58,000 people in Beltrami County, right? There isn't many. Yeah, it's not much. The tribe doesn't count because they're sovereign and they're completely their own government.
right?
So, if there's one in Bemidji and their population is under 15 now? So Bemidji could have one. That's how I understand it. That it goes by population, but I think it also goes by, who issues the license. So I'll see if I can clarify it for you, Shonda.
Okay.
I don't know if I have a solid answer for you tonight.
And you see, that's what I was getting at was if the city had something like that. And we've set a buffer zone.
So that,
Right.
yeah,
So that would, we, if the city wanted to do something like that, and we set up a, 1,000-foot buffer zone around our own. And then we're essentially, we're making it so we couldn't even do it. That was my point.
So the
On the
only,
buffers.
your wayside rest would only be a playground. It would only be a 500-foot maximum buffer.
Okay.
The only one that goes over 500 feet is the school.
Potential.
The potential. Thank you, Ron. I have a slide for just the wayside there. That's 500 feet. Around, and I tried to pinpoint, this is the playground, so I drew a little tiny triangle around the playground. So the pond's right here.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
But I understand where you're coming from, Max. You're throwing that out there in the terms of if we are gonna set a buffer zone around a playground, around a school or anything like that, that could buffer us out from municipally being an office or a retail establishment. Yep.
Correct.
Yep. Okay.
You just said it better than I did.
So the playground at the yellow townhouses doesn't count now?
That's up to the city. But the language in here defines it. Let's see if I can find it quick for you. I can grab that here. Yeah,
I don't think it's public, is it? Or it's not considered public, it's on technically private property.
Right, but then it's gonna be owned and managed by the council.
so I'm not gonna find it really quick for you, Don, but what I do remember reading it was it has to be something that is considered public, that anybody in the public may use. My interpretation of that playground is it's on private property, not public property. So that would be as if, Bud and Linda Olson had a playground on the corner where the walking trail is. And everybody just pulled over and used the swing set there. That's on their property. That's not public. So anybody can go and use the townhomes. That doesn't seem like they mind, but it is not on public property. Public property is owned by a government or something that's paid for by public taxes. Or receives public money.
Okay.
Otherwise, you could sit there and nitpick to death. Right? And unfortunately, I don't think that would hold water.
I thought we went through all this before.
Before I have this document done, I had some preliminary information.
Thought we
This-
put an ordinance together.
This is much more detailed in order to get this ordinance started.
Okay, we will take it under advisement.
Yeah, I'll keep putting this on the council agendas
Yes,
until I have a fully drafted understanding of what the city wants, because once I get those parameters set and the communication with the county about what we want to delegate to the county and what that looks like and what they're agreeing to, then I can continue to move forward with the ordinance itself.
go.
Okay. It would be nice to just hear if you guys are cool with that idea about relinquishing some of those licensing duties to the
Oh.
county now.
Yeah, we don't wanna sit here, we don't have the
Because
time to do.
I don't know how much you read of this part, but one of the licensing responsibilities is the audits.
The audits and the, doing the compliance checks.
Compliance checks as
and-
well.
and, yeah,
I imagine there's in background checks too.
Yep.
I mean, for,
yes,
yeah. Cause there is for alcohol,
Yep.
getting alcohol license.
so.
I just, we don't
No,
have the staff for it.
that's my opinion, is that, no, we don't need to have. sit here and.
We don't have the staff, for it, we
Micromanage
don't
it.
have the office space for it, we don't have, we're not ready to take over that kind of, we just got be stuff handled, and that's still getting,
Because
that's,
if I have the head nod from the council on that section, then I can continue moving forward with that cooperation and that agreement with the county. So that makes that section of the ordinance a lot easier for me to continue drafting.
And I don't think we'll be the only.
is there a fee that they charge for that?
No, they never have on the tobacco, because anybody that wants to sell smokes and, vapes, they just get their license from them and they do all the compliance. So my understanding is to be very similar to that.
Sounds good. I think I have a nod for you. How about everybody else?
I'll,
I nodded
check that population
very loudly.
licensing before the next meeting. I'd like to get more feedback at the next meeting regarding buffers is what I really want to hear from the council.
Are you talking about the work session?
I am talking about the work session, yeah.
Give it some thought.
Okay.
Pretty sure I got mine. Anything else on that? No. Ducks.
The ducks. I sent a letter to all of our, entities that donated to our fund. Just kind of giving them an update of where the city's position is. As I stated at the last meeting, I'll continue putting it on the agenda until the council agrees or disagrees with how they want it, well, agrees on how they want to move forward, but disagrees. It would be nice to see what kind of feedback or, input the council's had since the last meeting when we discussed the restoration and rehab of the statues.
Can you remind me, what is the total donations we've received so far?
20,000 roughly. Yeah,
Could you forward a copy of the letter you sent to us via email?
I can. I believe I stuck it in your packet, but I can.
Back of the
Tonight.
So, and your computer, the email that you got for your night session.
And maybe I didn't, but I'll forward it to the council. Yep. Got an extra copy. I did send this to chamber members after the last meeting. But I haven't been at a meeting for a while now. Do you have any feedback from that meeting? Okay.
Oh, I don't.
The letter's not in the packet. No, that's fine. I'll send it back out to you guys. Yeah, you bet. Sorry about that.
Sorry.
All right.
Making sure I get this done, so. No, I guess I haven't had anybody.
I heard nothing.
I have heard from a couple people, they don't want to see the older duck, the old.
Done this, but
Probably like Mike said, that people don't like to let stuff go.
kind of a. Yeah, comic thing, but. I mean, I do like it, don't get me wrong, I don't know that I like it that much.
Right.
I don't like it for.
They want to be a mayor, they can
Death to the little duck.
Maybe we can do this after the election.
It's not even the original.
Well, yeah, but it's been there so long, it might as well be the original, but.
Yeah, it's been there since 1942, this one, and it's visually identical to the original. The 30s.
Yeah, they have one now.
I think we should put it in Ron's front yard.
They have one now.
We make a motion for that. And that's the agenda.
Yeah. They make a baby duck out of it.
I digress.
I don't know. Just plain expensive, it just
Expensive, but there's gotta be a cheaper way. This is a fine art conservatory corporation. I wish that our original bidder, elderly Mr.
Oh,
So-and-so would be in good health, because he would have slapped some stuff on there and we'd be good for 10 to 15 years.
do you know anybody?
The mason trowel and polyester group, that's.
No, you can, anything, I mean, you mentioned caulking it up, doing something with it,
Yeah.
nothing's been done in the past.
Yeah.
Since last.
well, yeah, but I mean, we're not gonna make it worse if you wanted to take a couple fiberglass kits up there.
That's what.
Are you volunteering to do that? Oh. I thought I heard that.
We can patch on the top, that's not a problem.
It would be, all right. I've been plenty of fiberglass, but must be somebody.
Sound like a volunteer down there. I heard.
If the city buys the stuff, I would like. be more than happy. And then we could find an artist, paint.
Yeah, there's a whole school full of kids.
And
that
then, I mean,
fast.
looking at the duck, you don't have to be like a master artist.
Just get the eye in the right place,
Yeah.
because it's been there in two different places.
Right, they go. Volunteer.
And get somebody from the art department in the school.
Yeah.
There's gotta be somebody that would be interested, like, yeah, the art department in school.
Well, Christian Haugen, look at what he did to that mural on the side of
The other side of the theater.
yeah. I mean, you know, just,
Something. Yeah, you can find someone, yes, you're.
And I still like.
You're absolutely
beautifying that
correct.
corner.
Who did the mural? I missed it.
Christian Haugen.
Christian Haugen.
So. It's gonna be on here until we make a decision, folks.
Do you wanna set a budget to fix the, like, here's some, this many dollars you wanna put towards the little duck?
I don't think we can do that.
Okay.
You're thinking about a budget.
Yeah.
I think Shonda's talking about the money that we've already raised.
Right, taking a portion out of that and using it for, right,
For a quick fix,
for a quick fix, right? And then beautifying the base. I think that's the direction that we're
That's-
thinking about.
I'm thinking that they, well, no, that was the other duck. The other
That's
duck
the other one.
The other duck needs to get,
His,
he needs to fly off of the thing.
yeah,
Put a nest underneath it. What the duck? I guess I'd be willing to do something like that, yeah. I mean, it's something, we're not, otherwise we're not doing anything.
It's not like it's.
I'm not gonna be the one doing it, I'm just gonna be the one saying, yeah, hey, somebody else should do this.
But
It's
you are
real
going
easy
to,
to sit here and go, yeah.
are we gonna approve for funds? Do we have to do something different for that funding piece?
No, because the donations were, meant specifically to help do the restoration. So,
And anything we do at this point is just gonna buy us some time.
Right.
on the old duck, yes.
On
Yes.
old duck, but we're not actually restoring the old duck, we're putting a fix on it, so I would want to,
Correct.
I guess. Make it sound like we were going to do one thing and then do another, and then not explain that. Right, how publicly,
There you go.
you know what
Well,
I'm
we
saying?
were gonna,
We're publicly right now.
we were gonna fix it and we're starting the fixing process.
There's a difference between putting a patch job on it and a restoration.
Originally, that's what was gonna happen.
Mhm.
Was
The
that,
original person that was gonna come restore it had that small price range.
Yeah.
And then we decided as a council to go to a restoration art professional. And that's where the price quadrupled.
Well,
Okay.
technically, the first company was a restoration.
Oh, yeah, no,
conservatory, But he was going to do the path that we are kind of varying to now. His quotes and costs were much less, yes.
That's what that money was put for, is to preserve the duck.
So. How do we find somebody that wants to do it?
Well, Nick just
Nick
said
just said he would do
he
it.
doesn't mind as long as the money goes that we've already raised goes to the supplies. Do you have any idea what fiberglass costs?
Actually, I can get you a couple prices on that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's get started on that then.
They sell it for boats.
Yeah, they sell
The
them.
mesh and then the
Mesh,
groups,
yes.
the groups, and then
Yeah.
up over it.
And who's got it in the art department?
Even if it's. Somebody can start talking, even if it's not here, maybe a BSU art manager would love to.
Right. Donate their time or something, even maybe.
Get their picture in the paper.
And it's mainly
And their name
black.
drop.
Black with some.
Visible. Take a picture.
There's plenty of pictures.
Would somebody go talk to Cheryl Little Honey?
Yeah.
No, she's the one that owns Phone North Goods.
She wanna pay?
She might. City pays for the supplies, like Nick is willing to put the time into it, is Cheryl willing to put the time in it after the patch is done and the city provides the supplies. She painted. And she's very artistic and she does a great job with everything she does.
I'll talk to her.
Sure, there you go. Lori said she'd go out to it. She got a path for the old duck, you know, just like figure out what we want to do with the line stuff at some point. Maybe one hurdle at a time. Cause we don't know how much this will cost. That'll eat away at the donated funds.
I'm guessing 3/4. That did is labor
Oh, yes.
or more.
And
Yeah.
lodging.
Well, and the other portion, if we're talking about the old duck is, there's so many unknowns. I mean. Granted,
The external stuff, they were looking at what's
External, what's
inside.
what's caused, what externally is caused internally to
Yeah,
deteriorate, yeah.
so if we can go ahead with that, you will talk to Cheryl.
I'll ask her.
Nick will get the prices, we can move ahead with that and then. Start to come up with a plan for the Lions duck down at the Wayside Rest, because that is going to be,
A bigger,
that is a much bigger project.
it's a much bigger project and I think identifiably for the city, I think it's probably the one that is most synonymous with Blackduck at this point. I mean, Scott, you've only been working for the BDC for a little over a month. Wouldn't you say it's probably more iconic from your feedback?
Yep.
It's not necessarily from you know,
No,
community
it-
standpoint, but from a,
We can spend a little bit and keep the old duck around for, you know, a little while longer, you know,
Mhm.
however many years it lasts.
Yeah.
But
When his head falls off, he's done.
well, and going back to the last conversation, you know, after, we still could make still a gazebo around it, some type of structure to keep,
Yeah.
you know, a lot of, elements from resting on top of them.
And I think that probably would be a good way to get started. But the only other way we're gonna do this is with that's a lot of fundraising to fix the big stuff.
I say we do a winter dunk tank for the mayor.
Winter one, ooh.
Who's the vice president?
Bless you.
The vice mayor?
Yeah,
Yeah, I think the whole section up there ought to go.
Oh, if we got done with the council and mayor, we probably get some good money.
See, there you go.
Everybody's gonna throw a bite baseball at that.
Get all you lined up there.
All right, thanks a lot. I think we can move on from that. And thank you, Lori, and thank you, Nick, for volunteering to get after that.
I hate a reason to go in the phone, but you know what? Oh, darn it.
So,
So Max, before I get into the conversation, the 25 budget, I just would like to take a minute and fill the council in on the research I've done as it pertains to Scott Brunel's forum request tonight.
Okay.
okay,
It's been a while that I've helped with a vacation process or vacating a street, so I dusted off some documents and went back to the League of Minnesota Cities to really get an idea of the process again, which it's pretty similar to like, you know, a variance. You still have to have notice, public notice. You still have to send letters out, which could also include the original petition document that is signed by Scott and whatever vetting property owners to all the rest of the people that are around it. And then there is a hearing, the council hears findings and facts for and against, and then can take action. There's one thing in here that kind of,
did we vacate on Sparby's property up there when we did that one? We did the,
we did, but it was an undeveloped, it was a plat that was started and never finished. And the property owner was still the only property owner, and there's nothing else around it that wasn't owned by Mal. In this situation,
yeah, there's multiple.
and I'm gonna apologize, but I only printed off one of these, so you guys are gonna have to share it and send it down. What this is so the right of way is right there.
This is what.
Yeah, and you send it down. This is Scott's property where 3 is, and that's Anger's property. So everything to the north of where he is Jim Walden's property. It is in Blackduck, and then the northern boundary of Walden's property goes into Hines Township. What I haven't heard back yet from the GIS department at Beltran County is Pines Hideaway Drive is just to the north of that in Pines Township, which is directly north of where that right of way is, but there's nothing platted. Maybe you can chime in. There's nothing platted on Walden's property. So theoretically, let's say the city wanted to entertain annexing in that section of Pines Township where Quiet Meadows is. If they wanted to run water and sewer, they'd want to make a full loop. You know, up Croswell, across and down, in order for that water and sewer to actually work for all those adjacent properties. up in there. If you vacate that right away, there's no utility under it right now. I don't know how that works with the property that's in between the township and that, right, the city's right away, if you would just continue the road south from township into city. But the rules from the league kind of say you need to consider if the vacation benefits the city, benefits the public as a whole. Okay, not just the abutting property owners.
But you could maintain a utility easement over that, which you should. Because once you give up right away, you're not gonna get it back.
And that, because cities can vacate streets by resolution. That's it. All the descriptors are in there. We have a few on this northeast side where like Slendy Field and the baseball field are, and behind them, some alleys are vacated in town too. But the most recent one I've worked on was the rest of Oscar that goes north underneath the parking lot of Anderson Fabrics. Because they own the Legion, and they still own it. And then it dead ends until you get to the township, or the townhomes. So in that resolution, that company owns, you know, it's been vacated so that they have ownership to that and they don't have to, the city doesn't have to plow it. You know, but they understand that all of the utilities that are under it are that person's responsibility. In this case, like Tim is saying, if you don't say that you want a utility easement, you're kind of shooting yourself in the foot for any future growth.
And technically speaking, you might have 10 foot either side of the right of way as utility easement also.
That's good to know.
Yeah,
Something you need to make sure you research before you make a decision.
right.
And are they aware that, I guess I don't know the full scenario. The vacation would go to the underlying landowner. It's not gonna go all to one person. It's generally
Exactly.
split down the center and two people get the property.
Right. I don't think he's in that understanding. I mean, my impression is that he's thinking that he's gonna gain access to this whole right of way and be able to build a larger home, and that isn't true. Just because you vacate it doesn't mean you deed it over to that a person.
Kind of seems like here, kind of seems like here,
Generally speaking, that's what it is, but you'd have to look at the records.
Right through this house, why does that look like that?
That is a garage that was erected. The right of way doesn't go through it, that building's on top of it.
Oh.
You gotta think of it the other way. The property was already there before the building was.
Right, but,
Yeah, it was platted before that building was there.
and who's building it?
The adjacent property owner opposite of Scott's, so,
The
the
person
last
that-
name is Anger.
Inger, that's the
Yeah.
person that is kind of missing in action, is that, so to speak?
Yep, well, that's just Scott's
That's his
perspective,
interpretation.
that's his
That's
interpretation.
how it came
Yeah.
out at the, I don't know.
So there's two ways a city can vacate, they can vacate on resolution with petition or without. I would encourage the city to request the petition, and that's the document I gave Scott tonight when he left. And the petition must be signed by the majority of the abutting landowners. It can't just be him.
How many budding landowners are there? We're talking about?
Walden, Anger, and Scott.
Is Scott 3 or 1?
He's on there, Scott is three.
Two
Okay.
signatures then?
Say again, please.
So you said a majority,
Mhm.
so he just needs the two signatures.
But just because you get the two signatures doesn't mean you have to grant the.
Also that, just because that just starts the petition process and starts the vacation process to send the petition out to the adjacent landowners, have the hearing and consider the facts and findings. The council can still deny the vacation, just because it's being asked doesn't mean you have to approve it. Either way, if the council approves or denies it, my office has to file that with the county recorder. and the auditor.
Well, I like to hear the facts, the way you said it was, it has to benefit the whole city.
Right.
Can I ask what size difference he's looking for?
He has not disclosed that. My interaction with Scott has been as he comes in with the DMV, and then through two other people. He's talked to Max and he's talked to Kurtzis, and, he just assumed that that was a done deal. I told him he still needed to come to a board meeting and make a formal request and start the process. That's not how things are done. If you do a variance or a CUP, you have to go through a process. So that's why I requested him, because he thought he was on the agenda tonight, so I told him to come and talk to you guys during the forum. Because nothing can get approved in the forum anyway.
No, the other consideration would be is if you allow the vacation but retain an easement, there's still a setback from an easement. So does that preclude him from his wishes?
Right, yeah, that's what I kind of wanted to know about what size, what's he looking at?
So
Compared to what?
Take those notes, Lori, about
Okay.
what his plans are, because that should be disclosed in his process of these hearings.
And what is this section up here? This is a right of way, yellow
So,
line.
so this is all in Hines Township above this orange line here, Ron. So this is right away for Hines Township. This is Pine Hideaway Drive, and this is not named.
So if we abandon that, then that would
Future.
next to it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So if we were to put an easement in, you said there is a variance in that easement. Is there a number that's specific?
There's a setback in the easement.
Okay, setback in the easement, is that a set number? Or
Yeah.
size, like our boundary lines, our property lines have 12
That'd be
inches?
dictated by ordinance, yeah, whatever.
Is it
is
dictated
ordinance.
by ordinance?
so-
Yeah. So. Do
And
we
you
know
would
what
be-
that is?
And you wouldn't be putting an easement over it, you would be retaining the easement that exists based on the planning.
Okay,
Giving you the ability to put water and sewer, one on one side of the road and one on the other, and they have to stay within side of 15 feet.
that's what, I was looking for a
Or
number.
the utilities,
Mains can't be,
typically you put them 12 foot on center, but you need a separation of 10 foot from outside of pipe outside.
and if that right of way isn't platted very wide to begin with,
And then you need 15 feet on either side of the utility to maintain in the future. At a minimum, yeah.
And the plus for the community is a house. Right? There is housing for that. In
Yes.
theory, is we have a house to collect taxes.
yep, to add to your net tax capacity and your
To add to your
estimated
tax
market
capacity.
value, yep. Yep.
But the,
But it may not
Easement-
make any difference if the house, I mean, there isn't a much difference in the tax capacity of a house that is this size compared to this size. You know what I mean? It depends on what his print looks like. It's not gonna increase that much for this, for the
Right.
community, other than put an extra bedroom in it maybe, or another bathroom, or, you know, as far as.
I understand where you're coming from.
Okay,
but the right of way would be split half and half between the two adjacent property owners, and then the setback would be from the new split line.
If you don't,
It'd be based on whether or not you secured an easement. And I would strongly suggest you visit with your city attorney prior to acting on this.
yes, thank you.
But my point is, the house may not be much bigger if you think, because he's only getting half of the abandoned
he may only get half of the abandoned right away, even if you didn't have a utility easement,
setbacks
yes,
from the new line.
correct.
So,
And side setbacks right now for property lines are 8 feet. I figured it'd be easier if I addressed you guys as a whole than later. And not to do any injustice to Scott, but I wanted you guys to understand my research portion of it.
Yeah, because you have to
The
understand.
annexation process, to annex that in, would be a serious benefit to the city.
It could be years to get that process to go
But
though,
it
too.
doesn't go anywhere unless it gets started.
Agreed.
Yeah, we talked about that.
And I think that to be able to, as now that it's been pointed out to me that what Tim just said about, you know, your easements and your, right, and the way Christina said it, water flow would have to go. If you do want to, at some point in the future, the city decides to put something in. Boy, would that make it just that much easier for us. Or it would make it that much easier for the council that would be sitting in our spots.
And once you have right of way, it's hard to give it up because the only way to get it back is through condemnation or planning.
Right.
And that's to me, that whole development of that area,
That township line, and that's what you're talking about? I mean,
it's too. It would be almost too, it's too valuable to give up the right of way right
to
there.
cut off, okay.
To cut us off from doing something in the future would be shooting, essentially shooting ourselves in the foot.
Yeah, cause if you close that, then you have no room to grow out, right? If you,
Right, and one of the things the city already has going for itself, if that annexation were to get approved, the first one is we provide egress. Our city streets provide in and out to that section.
That is our biggest thing. I mean, I can use my property as an example,
Yeah,
because I'm right on the edge. The only way in and out of my property is from City Street.
Oh, okay, I see. I
The
know.
only way in and out of their property is City Street.
everyone.
I'm full.
This was your baby.
I know, I'm sorry, I
I just let you flow.
flipped a biscuit on you guys.
Oh, it was a good conversation though.
Yeah,
Okay,
it was good
good.
conversation.
Good, okay.
Something.
And obviously I couldn't do it. I mean, I couldn't do it until I got to my section. The forum wasn't the platform for it. Okay, 2025. General fund budget review. I don't know, I think we've met 2 or 3 times. The personnel committee has met. I've met with all of the department heads, and what I'm gonna go through with you guys is my summary. And then provide to where we might be. So first off, the 25 revenue at a glance. We are estimating property tax proposal, just the property tax for the general fund of 376,346, which is an increase of 31,149 over 2024. Local government aid has been confirmed at 323,855, which is only an increase of $410. I giggled, but we got 32 grand last year for 24, so I'm not looking a gift horse in the mouth. Preliminary, looking at a contribution from the liquor store of 65,000, which is what we've set the budget at for 24. The fire protection contract contribution will be 102,357. That's all the township's contribution based upon the set budget, of which I will get to when I get down to that department. Charges for service have been increased based on license center revenue. An increase of another 25,000 to a total of 58. 8 of that is the money we get from the county to clear streets. So I'm anticipating about a $50,000 net revenue from the DMV. Right now, we're just shy of, well, just over 33,000 so far. Small cities assistance state aid will start We'll continue in 25. The full amount will be provided in our revenues of 21,871. I reported a couple of meetings ago that 24s is like 14 grand. This is the small cities assistance aids that only goes to streets. Okay. That, all of those revenues are reflected on, page 1 of, okay. Of this file right here. I'm gonna come back to the bottom of this page where you see the 25 budget comparable to 24. As I move into expenditures. Summarizing payroll and benefits. The Department of Labor 2025 minimum wage increase has been set to 28 cents, which is an increase over the last 3 years of 26 cents. Proposed wages for your staff supported by the general fund are noted. And then details in terms of benefits. The health insurance premium went to $712.80 per employee. That's an increase of only $35.55, which is just under a 5% increase. So that's pretty good. The healthcare savings account contribution will maintain at a $3,200 deductible. I have requested an HSA contribution for my position. And that is factored into the administrator's budget. Dental insurance premium increased $1.30 per employee. And then the rest of the payroll and benefit highlights stayed the same for next year. If I move forward into individual budgets, the administrator's budget has an increase of 6.69%. The license center is increasing almost 20. Majority of that is payroll. Police budget is up 8%. Fire's up 6.7%, of which was approved by the fire protection representatives of townships and cities on the 22nd of August. The street budget is up 14%. That is predominantly reflected by the small cities funding. So typically, fire.
Have to put it in.
Yeah, so typically we'd be putting in the street materials budget, like 25, 30 grand. If we put the revenue on the revenue side and not put any more in the expense line, we're kind of shooting the street department in the butt. Because that's what that money is for. So what the finance committee agreed to do was put it in that street materials fund line, bringing that up to 48,000, knowing that that department can utilize all that money, which makes a nice big hit. I'm sure you've heard Mike in the past going 25,000 doesn't buy a lot. Right? And he's doing the best he can with what money he has. Moving down into the parks budget, that is up 18%. Not a whole lot of difference. I'm gonna detail some insurance notes.
But the parks, wasn't that because we added the wayside rest?
Wayside Rest is
The park was, we added something to it.
we discussed adding money to the park budget to help restore the duck.
But we didn't know.
It had to be removed because we cannot levy for it.
That was.
Yep. So that increase, Max, just pretty much reflects operating
Lost.
and probably,
Yeah.
payroll. Moving down to the library. It's on this page, there we go. Whole page is a little too much. So the library is asking for an increase in their levy of $934 for the year, bringing the total levy request to $20,380. And the finance committee put money in to work on the front door of the facility, so that fund line of $7,000 on the building reflects that increase there. Buildings and planning, this is an odd year in 2025, so it's not an inspection year, so I don't need the funding for the planning section of that budget. Street lighting, we remain the same. We're gonna continue to work on relamping and rewiring street poles. And then the city council, that was an increase. What I do wanna know is insurance. This has been a personal conversation of my own, because I am now insuring another driver and I have another vehicle to insure. But I can say that insurance is changing in 25, where we've had multiple conversations in the past about workers' comp going up like crazy. The high end of the percentage expected from LMCIT is only 5%. In the last, I don't know, 4 years, it's been double digits. So my numbers in the insurance of all the departments reflects that under workers' comp. Side note, I just heard from LMCIT that we're getting a $2,000 rebate on the 23-24 work comp audit, so that's good. So we'll get a little bit of a discount at the end of this year. But if you look at it, auto is now 10% increase, where auto's been trending somewhere between 5 and 7% every year. Now they're expecting that to go up. And if you've been looking at auto insurance anywhere for yourself personally, it's showing a lot. I jumped myself this spring because it was crazy. So that is reflected in all the departments. Had a pretty decent conversation about this in the fire department meeting. It's difficult to look at my budget sheets and not understand the method to my madness, because if you're looking at the details of actual expenditures lines in these budget sheets, and then look at the budget for 25, it may not seem like it's a true representation of the percentage we need to budget for, but it's important for everybody to understand that our workers' comp policy and the rest of our liability and auto, we go from 6/1 to 6/1, June 1 to June 1, okay? Our work comp policy premium has to be paid 100% on June 1. I pay half of the general liability, auto, and property on June 1 and the other half on October 1. So when I'm doing this planning, the actual expenditure doesn't reflect a full premium paid yet. But when I budget it, I double that. So that percentage I try to estimate the increase reflects on that. We all know it's still kind of a crapshoot when we're looking at these numbers, but 2 years ago, I tried to play a little bit more on the safe side on workers' comp, and it really bit us in the butt. It was 15% increase, and I think I planned for like 8 or 9. Yeah, and that really hurt us. So I'm trying to stay on the high end of what the league is suggesting. Once I get down through the departments. Sorry. Page 9. Yeah. Everybody loves my font. We'll give you the debt schedule for next year. Better make this a little bigger for everybody to see. So what you'll notice that the 2009 property tax debt sunsets in 24, so that won't be there in 25. The rural water debt that has been funded for the sewer improvements on Summit and Main also sunsets this year. And part of that was assessments, no property taxes. But what we do have going into 25 now is our bond payments for the facility, which kind of basically one swap the other one out. And if you guys remember when we were doing the planning, we kind of anticipated that as we went down. The rest of everything else is, you know, revenue specific for that debt. So that brings us down to our total debt of 54,635, including a levy for the HRA, which is slightly decreased because our net tax capacity is lowered. I'm sorry, our estimated market value lowered by about $15,000. I tried to ask the new assessor at the county if he could give me an idea of why, and he said there were some apartment buildings that valued a little less this year, so that reflects on that total city number. And we can only levy 0.018% of the EMV of the city for that. You take the total debt, what I'm anticipating the general fund will need, that brings a levy, total levy of 430,981 for a rough estimate of 6.2% preliminary over 2024. Last thing I want to show you is how it transpires for you as an individual taxpayer. And there's some great news. Well, could be great. So if you remember from previous years, when I do this little sample, the estimated market value for your homestead exclusion starts at $76,000 and maxes out at 400. Well, the state finally caught up to us. So in 2023, everybody's property taxes went through the roof. On average, each county went up about 23%. Everybody was screaming and hollering the whole thing. And they tried to get stuff to go through at the legislature for 24 and they didn't do it, so they got it for 25. So what's changing is the range for homestead exclusion is now increased. Its bottom line is 95,000 and its top line is 517 for that to start at that. And the full homestead exclusion you can get is $38,000 now. So as you get closer and your market value keeps growing up to that top threshold, that's how your homestead exclusion starts dwindling away. Now they're shifting that because the EMVs have changed. Because the laws have changed. So what that actually does for a budget is, you know, you got your total net tax capacity and your budget, it changes your mill rate and it really shifts what a valuation can be for an individual taxpayer now. So on one hand, you look at it that we're preliminary looking at increasing the levy 6%, but an individual tax payment could be lower for that other reason of your valuation is higher. And now you're paying less taxes because everything else is caught up to it. So that's my presentation. I will try to handle questions.
Mike and I are both on the committee, so we've seen this.
I mean, overall,
But
the property tax, just the property tax increase looks like it's more, but on a whole budget increase because our debt has lowered, it's only 25,277 over 24. It's just more money is going to the general fund and less money is going to debt.
Boring questions. Thoughts?
No.
Dawn? Better read it.
Yeah,
Okay.
I went through it earlier.
you need time to absorb.
I just try to give you the details, otherwise blows your brain up. It's a lot.
Dawn?
Well, it looks like you've spent a lot of time on this. Committee members.
Christina has spent a lot.
I was saying.
We are there to go, and,
Okay.
good job.
Yeah, keep going.
And are you sure that that's really necessary? And yeah, that's what we do.
Well, my overall philosophy is anytime we can minimize other increases to the property taxpayers or for the city, that, the better, rather than increase that. We can minimize increases, rather than maximize them. That's what we need to do. I am pro-business, and pro, getting other folks in here that occupied properties and pay taxes. Lessen the burden on anyone. Seems like that's basically what's occurring here.
And in all fairness, our first meeting, we basically had like 0.2. But there was a few things I didn't have completed yet, and, I did actually put that small cities money in the revenue, but not in the street budget, and I was like, that doesn't seem right. I'm just taking it and adding it someplace else, and that's not fair. That's not what it was designed for.
And so it looks like we're getting. It looks higher than, yeah, it's overinflated.
Yeah.
Is what it
It
is.
inflated the revenues.
And we did recommend that. The. Police budget was increased for tires.
True. Josh and I only put $1,000 in, and after we relooked at it, the committee doubled that because the new squad is gonna need them. And
Where do you get
top
tires
is-
for $1,000? I wanna know.
And these are speed rated and all the other good stuff
Yeah.
that goes with it.
So we added a little bit more into that budget.
And just the price of tires alone.
Yes.
I have 3 vehicles that need tires. I don't want to care about tires.
Well, fair enough, so that was one of the, that was another one that we.
I wanna know.
I mean, I could be really shooting for the moon for the license center, but it's just going to continue, I think, to grow. Speaking from that department specifically, I'm hoping that as it does grow, if I end up having like a half, full, a 0.5 full-time equivalent, a couple days a week, or, in like year 3 or year 4, that at some point, the DMV actually can float the debt payment when we get this building remodeled or fixed. That's kind of my hope, is that we make enough in that to handle its operating budget and handle some of that debt.
Good. Like plans.
I have goals, don't always meet them. If there's no detailed questions, Max, what I do wanna, propose is, the city has to have its preliminary levy set by the end of September. The finance committee has another meeting this Wednesday. If there's anything that the council wants the finance committee to really drill down or reconsider or change, we would discuss that on Wednesday, but it would be in the best interest for us to hold a special meeting, and I've provided a notice in the packet on prior to the work session on the 23rd to adopt that preliminary levy then. And I think timeline is working in our favor for that.
Calls. That's an official.
If everybody's in agreement, yeah, because otherwise, on a calendar standpoint,
Third.
we're gonna be pushing it to do it any later than that. You're gonna be
Yeah.
having to do it on like the 30th.
So we'll. Yeah, that's too late.
And I just think that's really tight for everybody. And I can't, I don't think, I think actually, I have it down by the 20th. No, the 30th. I have to have it to the county on the 30th, so it would be too late.
You need a special meeting when, where we,
September 23rd,
Prior to the work session.
oh,
Yep.
so it'd be. It's officially called then.
the 23rd.
Yep. 6 p.m. Work session to follow, don't think I'm home right after. Double duty that day. Thank you, Christina.
You're welcome. I'm not hearing a whole lot of. Yeah. Eee. Ugh. Stomach hurts.
Give Don time.
Okay. Hey, Don, please talk to your committee members before Wednesday afternoon. If you have anything you want to share, by tonight. Yeah, Max, other than that, I just have a few dates for you guys. Like I stated, just a second ago, September 11th is the next, finance budget meeting. The finance committee, September 18th is the next planning commission meeting. I will be bringing back whatever feedback I've got from tonight and anything else, to the planning commission regarding the cannabis, because, they only requested those buffer maps after, or at that meeting in August, so I sent those same documents to them, that week, once I got them drafted. So they've seen those two.
Okay.
September 20th, early voting. I was fortunate enough today to review the ballot draft. There were some changes I had to make. But it all fits. It all fits, both sides are full. September 23rd would be the next work session. Yeah, right.
Do we need to bring our own book?
Nope,
Okay.
nope, it'll all fit. And then also September 23rd, we do the special council meeting for the levy. And then moving forward into October, the 7th is the next regular council meeting. And then of course I put the November 5th general election date on there. I'll keep putting election dates on there as we get closer. If I could just kind of give you guys a heads up, that November is gonna get really tight after the election. The 11th, so we have our council meeting on the 4th of November. The 5th is the general election. The 11th, the following Monday, is Veterans Day. And our council work session would technically be the following, Monday, the 18th. We will have a canvassing meeting within 14 days of the election, which puts us having to do it on the 12th. We wait until the 18th, we're outside the parameters of what statute requires. So you're gonna have 3 meetings that month. The 5th, the 4th for your regular council meeting. The 12th for the canvassing meeting, which is short because it's only the election. And the 18th for your work session. Everything's pushed in November. Thanksgiving's the last Thursday of the month. And deer season doesn't start until the 9th.
It's still green.
Deer season doesn't start till the 9th.
Yeah.
That's so weird. Yeah. So, I mean, I know it's another month, but just please put that in your radar, you guys, because,
We need,
it'll be a busy month.
we need us here.
Yeah.
for those.
So you said the fourth, did you say the 12th, 11th, 12th and the 18th?
The 4th, the 12th, and the 18th,
Okay,
Lori.
the 11th is
The 11th is
November.
Veterans Day.
Oh, yeah, Veterans Day. Okay.
Right.
I heard you right. I wrote it down right.
Yep.
Just
And anybody after the evening of the 4th that wants to stick around and help me set up the, chambers for the election the next morning, I would be grateful. Couple tables, some ducking around, moving some chairs and stuff like that, so
Sure.
we don't have to get here really early.
We can help you.
Thanks.
You could preview your ballot too.
You should be able to see it on the 20th.
Okay.
In 2 weeks. Yeah, it'll be available.
We gotta get a head start on this one.
Because you can start early voting on the 20th, so they'll be ready, because the county has to have them to mail out by then. Yeah.
That long to understand it.
I've had many people in the public already asking, if they're registered, where they vote, how they vote, if they are not gonna be able to make it there on the day of the election, what they can do. If you know people that have questions about voting, you can send them my way. I'd be very happy to help them. I just want to throw it out there that because our office here is always open, that we service a lot of the townships too. I cannot tell you how many people that live in the Blackduck zip code that think they vote here. And I have to find them their correct precinct, or they just moved and they don't know if they're a mail ballot or not. And then they'll find out, and this is a really important election, and no one's gonna wanna miss voting. So I'm more than happy to help anybody navigate, get registered,
That's
all of
good to
that.
know. We will, I will definitely,
Yeah, there's even a link on the city hall page underneath my picture that, for information about elections. So,
You want one of those?
oh, those are for your new Chromebook, sorry.
You got another one?
He had one that did not look good.
Oh,
yeah, dangerous one.
I'm gonna take mine home and make it not look good then.
That looked like his battery did this. Was not good. You know what? That's the first Chromebook I've had to buy since I bought all these,
yeah, no,
7 years ago, 6 years ago, I think I bought them. So,
Well, that might take up a lot of space for fiberglass if you think about the duck.
I think I'm done,
then, okay,
unless you guys have questions for me that I missed. Cannabis,
it was
duck, budget.
it was a wonderful dedication ceremony for Gary Sonic. For the field, football field, that was really nice. I'll make sure everybody knows that. Well done, it's great to see everybody. Come out for that. That. Touch on the public hearing,
I don't know a whole lot about it, I'm just
just. put it
sharing
in
the
there for
information, I think this is the second hearing now. I did hear tonight that, the Upper Red Lake Association is anticipating the legislation to be readopted in 25 regarding public land take back as it pertains to Upper Red Lake.
Yeah, that lady that has pushed all this forward,
It's gonna reintroduce it
she's
again.
gonna reintroduce it all and even the whiter stuff back into it.
Yeah.
I read all that.
So. It affects us, so just as an FYI.
I will second that.
All those in favor?
I,
It's amazing how those are already unanimous.
How about where you want me to stick?
2 seconds and I'll show you.
Where you want it.